Here's a question for you. Now, the
And Al
outsiders.
May was a greaser. He was a California greaser.
Yeah. Here's an
He,
interesting thing
he was
for
from
you.
Anaheim.
Uh, the outsiders took place roughly around 1964, 1965. I would say probably 1965 would be a little bit more accurate than 64. Um, what um, what was the general feeling of the neighborhood, like a greaser's neighborhood? Like, what was it like? What were they doing? Was it kind of like you have, these two hanging out down here, and this guy's coming out of his house over here to go meet these guys, and they're passing three other dudes working on a truck in the driveway, or what was that like? What was it like being in a greaser neighborhood on an average day?
Well, what you kind of described was kind of like what you would see in my neighborhood, which wasn't a greaser neighborhood. Guys would be taking the Harley across the street would be taking the engine out of his 58 Bel Air Chevy. I didn't grow up in an all greaser neighborhood, so I can't really answer that question. But in Oklahoma, people took care of their cars, their automobiles, maintained them on a regular basis. So it seemed like somebody was always working on a car.
Right.
Harley across the street or Charlie, those guys would all be, everybody worked on a car. You're always changing the oil. Butchie would he would fully take apart his engine, overhaul it, and clean it about every 90 days. And my brother would help him do that. And people worked there was more carpentry going on, more metal work. In classes, you had woodworks. So you learned to be a carpenter. We taught trades in high school back then. In
Right.
junior high and high school, you learned trades. So by the time you graduate high school, you could get a job as a carpenter,
Right.
a roofer, or you could do body work on cars or work
Mm-hmm.
at the gas station, depending on, or you could be a welder. There was a lot of, high school is a lot more functional than it is now.
Yeah.
Now they just teach you how to pass a fucking test that doesn't do you any good in real life. And instead of training you for a job that you need to have when you graduate so you can start making money in this world and buy your groceries and pay your rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so back then, I'm sure all the greasers were probably the only A they ever made in school was probably in metal shop or in wood shop.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Because they all learned how to do shit. Their dads were the welders. Their dads were the carpenters. Their dads were doing the hard ass work, going out there every day, building houses. There was plenty of work. I was a kid. My first job, I was 7 years old, and I was a ball boy at the tennis club.
Right.
And then from there, I learned how to mow yards, wash cars. I got a newspaper delivery job. I delivered the Tulsa World every morning for, God, I can't even remember how many years, dude. But, I can't remember not having a job from age 7 all the way up. I made money, man. I dug it. That was the only way I could have my own spending money. My parents didn't make enough money to just hand me money every day.
Sure.
And, I didn't have a marijuana allowance every week. My life wasn't. There's a kid I know, Johnny Merrick. He's a great little musician out in the desert. I love to remind him of this time I went to his house once, and he was 12, and he was pissed because he hadn't made his bed, he hadn't run the vacuum in his room, and so his mom was holding back his quarter-ounce marijuana allowance per week because he hasn't done his shit. And I'm thinking, dude, my mother kicked me out of the house because she found a quarter-ounce of pot in my pocket, dude. She's not giving it to me every week because I make my bed and zip up my pants. You know what I mean? So things have changed, dude.
Yeah.
But back to your question, I'm sure the guys had a radio going. I'm sure they were out there working on their car, probably drinking a little beer somewhere where nobody could really see what was happening. And just getting through life, dude. Getting this car started. Life wasn't easy, I bet. You got to jump the battery every once in a while.
Yeah.
And but like I said, by your circumstances, I think you were either in that neighborhood or this neighborhood. And it wasn't like a gang thing now, or it's a big drug operation,
Right.
and we intimidate the grocery store owners. And it wasn't like that, man. You just supported your local people, and they all knew you, and you all knew them,
Right.
and everybody got along. You know, a lot
Here's
better than it is now, I think.
here's another question, because they covered a little bit of this in The Outsiders and a little bit more in the book, but what places would you like when they were out of school, or the older cats that weren't in school, when they would be off, have a day off, or they would be done with their job maybe at nighttime? Where could you find greasers hanging out? What places did they like to hang out back then?
Well, the places that everybody hung out, we had a big street called Riverside Drive. And on Riverside Drive, that was access for everybody. The socias, all the greasers, everybody had access to it because Riverside Drive paralleled the Arkansas River. And on Riverside Drive, we had one major drive-in called Pennington's.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember, I think there was a couple more, and I can't remember the names of them, but they were the old classic 50s drive-ins where the girls came out on roller skates. Yep. And brought you your, chili cheeseburger and your fries and your chocolate shake.
Mm-hmm.
And you and your girlfriend or you and your friends would cruise Pennington's, and then the newspaper or somebody dubbed it the Restless Ribbon. What else do you do? There's nothing else to do in town. So everybody got in their car and they drove up and down Riverside Drive, and they go through Pennington's, and that's where you either find girls or find people to fight. And that's where the greasers hung out, and that's where you would encounter them. And sometimes, things would work out good and things wouldn't work out too good. I remember one night, these guys pulled up next to us and we didn't know them, and they said, "Hey man, these guys are going out to Sand Springs and they're going to beat the shit out of so-and-so." And it was a guy that we knew. And so we knew he would need some help. And so we said, "Well, where are they going to be fighting?" He said, "Hey, just follow us, dude." And so we following these guys, and they're in a pickup truck, and there's a whole line of them. Like there's maybe 15, 20 cars, pickup trucks, and they're all driving out towards Sand Springs. And these guys all have rakes, shovels, tire irons. I mean, there's going to be some serious stuff going down, and we're following. My friend Dean Grove was driving. And so we're going out there, and we get out, we kind of pull off. We're on this dirt road. We're kind of looking at each other going, "It's kind of lonesome out here, dude. There's nobody else out here except all these cars that we're following and us." And then they all pulled off, and then that's when we realized what would happen. They'd suckered us out there, and they're going to kick our ass. All the guys were jumping out of their cars and trucks, and they're coming back towards us, and that's when we realized, oh, dude, they just use that as bait. Now we're going to get our ass whooped. And so I remember Dean just stomped on it in reverse, and he must have gone 200 yards in reverse without even looking over his shoulder, dude. Mm-hmm. He just backed up, and he spun that baby around, did a 180, and we just burned it out of there. And then we had those guys looking for us all night. They were looking for us all night long, and we're driving back down Riverside Drive, and this guy on a big Norton Atlas 750 pulls up next to us, and I'm riding shotgun. He goes, "Hey man, can I hold on to your car?" I said, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "I'm out of gas, and these motherfuckers are trying to kill me, dude. There must be 10 carloads of guys, and they got shovels and everything." "Oh yeah, we've been dealing with those guys all night tonight." Evidently, those guys were on a warpath, man. They came to Riverside Drive to kick our ass. They didn't even know who we were.
Right.
And then they're trying to kill homeboy on the motorcycle. And I remember Dean was going about 50, and this guy goes, "Thanks a lot." He held on for about 3 blocks, and we got right by a gas station. He goes, "Thanks a lot." And he just cruised in there. He's going about 50 with no engine on or nothing. Right. He ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And he got to go in there and pump his gas. And then right then we saw the motorcade, all the greasers in their pickup trucks and stuff going the other way. We're going, "Oh shit, man, at least they're going the other way now. Maybe they're after somebody else." But you never knew. You you don't know what's going on. Sometimes they might have just said, hey, man, let's go to town tonight and kick some ass, you know?
Right.
And I remember I used to hang with Dean and all these guys, and we'd go look for fights. I mean, it was like, we're looking for trouble every weekend. And guess what, man? We found it all the time. And I remember one weekend I said, it was my junior year, and I was on the football team, and we're at Pennington's Drive-In. I said, hey guys, I won't be going out with you next weekend. They said, well, what do you mean, dude? What are you gonna be doing? I said, well, I got a date with Sharon Word next week. Well, man, she's a cheerleader, dude. What the fuck are you gonna go do with a cheerleader? I said, well, dude, I thought I might like kiss her and make out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can't do that with you guys. You know, all you guys want to do is go beat the shit out of people every weekend or get the shit beat out of us. I said, I'm just going to go out with a girl. And, oh, man, what a pussy, dude. It was like I ruined their party now because I want to go be with girls and they want to continue beating each other up. And so that was kind of like the dividing line. You know, at that point, I went out with girls and, you know, I would encounter my friend. I still hung out with my buddies. I played in a band and I knew all those cats all the time. But the guys that were the cool dudes, I mean, I had a lot of friends. There were some cool social guys, but the guys I really remember as being cool guys were the greaser dudes. They were more humble, easier to get along with. They didn't have a lot of high expectations out of people because they'd seen a lot of bullshit, and they were streetwise. They were street smart. They knew how to ride motorcycles. And I'm going to end this with this story. My brother and I, we were up by Will Rogers High School one day. This guy came down the street on a Harley, and he's a greaser. He's got the jeans, boots, leather jacket, and he's making a left turn. As he makes a left turn, he realizes he's right in front of an MKNO bus, dude. Like the city bus is coming right at him. There's no way he's going to avoid getting hit by this bus. And he lays his bike down, and he slid underneath a pickup truck. And he tried to get his legs up, but he couldn't quite get both legs off the bike and just ride it. But he went under the truck, and he didn't get hit by the bus. That's the good news, dude. He didn't die. But my brother and I were just like right there, man. We're 10 feet away when it happened. And he's laying there, and I remember I looked down. He's got on these tight blue jeans, and his femur, a big fucking bone, I didn't realize how big it was sticking out of the top of his jeans. And I remember he looked down at it, and he just went, oh, shit. That's all he said.
Damn.
And so, you know, by then they called an ambulance, and they pulled the dude out. He broke his leg right in half, right at his thigh.
Yeah.
And they carted his bike off. And my dad is down there. We get in the car. We're driving home. I said, Pop, that guy was the toughest son of a bitch I ever seen in my life. He says, what do you mean? I said, dude, he looked down and he saw his thigh bone, his femur was sticking out of his pants. And all he said was, ah, shit. And my dad says, son, he was in shock. Because that guy didn't feel a damn thing until he got to the hospital. And hopefully they got morphine in him before he really felt what that pain was like. Because I'm telling you, you know, he might have been tough, but he didn't feel nothing right then. I said, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So he might have been in shock, but I just remember I thought it was badass. He just went, oh, shit. Like, minor thing here, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's...
My leg, he's probably bummed because he ripped his Levi's.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the other thing. Guys they tore up jeans because they gotten torn up.
Right.
You know, you lay your bike down a few times, you're going to tear them up. But they weren't torn up at the factory by some Japanese worker at Nordstrom's, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You know,
now they've got those jeans where you get mud stained.
I've seen that. I've seen those.
Stained jeans for $475.
We did it ourselves.
Yeah, let's go get a pair, dude.
You know,
I'll just take my jeans and just go roll down in a mud hole, dude, for $500, you know?
Here's the interesting thing. There's a lot of
Anyway, you got any more questions? Because I'm gonna have to get rolling here in a minute.
yeah. I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up with a few things. You know, the parallel
Okay,
between
go ahead.
yeah, the parallel between what you went through with the greasers and what I did was very, very similar. I mean, a lot of the cats I grew up with were, you know, I grew up and hung around a lot of the gangs. That's really what was in Long Beach. We didn't know a lot about all of the car
Right.
culture and all the shows and the bands and the art and the fun stuff that we could do with it. I didn't learn about that till the ass end of high school when I started getting away from the trouble side of things because I did get myself in some quite a bit of trouble back then. But it was like that. I mean, you know, we didn't buy our jeans ripped up. They got ripped up by just living. They got dirty by living. I mean, the jeans got dirty because you know we put the Murrays in our hair and everything, and then the hands are waxy and greasy. We just rub them on our jeans and get made fun of, like, oh, look at that fucking dirty greaser over there, you fucking dirty, smelly ass greaser. Be like, fuck you, you know. But the thing is, the era that I came up in when we were pulling all our shit, I mean, hell, you had Big Bird in your class and you stopped him from throwing a desk on a Samoan kid. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about that the other night when I was talking to Big Bird. I mean, hell, he was going to slam that frickin' those desks were heavy. They were about, what, 50 pounds? He was going to slam that desk on that Samoan kid for making fun of him. I mean, that's how greasers were. But one of the things I always tell the cats that, you know, I have follow me on the channel here is I'm always telling them, like, it's not like it was. You guys can't pull that shit anymore. I mean, it's too easy to catch a charge nowadays. It's too easy to have FBI, you know, Homeland Security coming at you for a terroristic act. I mean, those things were just normal back then when we
Right.
were, you know, playing with like little firecrackers in a class, a little smoke bomb, throw it and, you know, clear the class out, or a little fart bomb or something, or, you know, just
Right.
causing chaos and mayhem. Now, I mean, you can't do that shit
Good old
anymore.
fashioned fun.
Yeah, you know, guys would be out fighting and stuff. You know, you can't do that shit anymore. You'll get cops all over. You'll be up your ass. You know, people are quick to sue nowadays and lawsuits. Everybody's got a fucking phone. They capture this shit. You know, the authorities see it. They start checking out gangs. They start checking you guys out. Like, oh, you know, we saw your video on YouTube of you guys fighting or whatever. So I'm always trying to keep these cats out of trouble
Mhm.
and pushing them and progressing like the greaser style in a progressive direction, you know? So that's one of the things that I do
Right.
because I lived it. I was there. I seen how bad it can get, and it can get pretty fucking bad. You know, I don't think the gangs are as active as they once were. I know some new ones have sprung up out there, and you know, thankfully, I'm not a part of that scene of it anymore, and it's a whole different thing for me now. But you know, it's interesting how the original era guys grew up and how very similar it was in my era when I was in your class growing up.
Mhm. Things really haven't changed that much overall when you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they always talk about racism, and they act like that was just going to go away, or, you know, no, man, those things, there's so many things that run so deep that it's always going to be here. Bad things are always going to be here. Good things are always going to be here. It's just, that's the way it was set up.